Welcome back to another review and feedback with me, Ritho. I don't have a good intro, I know, guys. Um, we have the part two of the two-part game, player submission, where the individual that was playing was getting a 29% win ratio in their matchup, specifically Terran versus Protoss. So we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to kind of go over what they are doing well, not so much, and all that good stuff. So, Keithic TV, Twitch TV, is the Terran. And, of course, we have Barcode here as the Protoss. They submitted both of these games into the Reddit forums. And we want to make sure that we are learning and understanding what's going on and seeing where we can improve. Obviously, little things like making sure your unit's in the right place when you start is going to help a lot. Keithic is already doing that, so just make sure that if you are trying to learn something about how to play Terran, or any race for that matter, is you want the unit in the location as soon as you have the resources. You don't want the unit, you want to be traveling to that location during the time that you are gathering resources. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you don't have the information you need to be able to, or you're wasting time. Essentially, you're wasting seconds. And StarCraft is a game about seconds. Also, I just noticed that my camera is like way off and supersized high. I'll fix that after this game, so I'm sorry, you're going to have to deal with it for this one viewership version. The scouting is a great idea. He did do a move command. I don't have any problems with move commands. As long as you're being very attentive. You want the low health one to continue working, and then, yuck. Okay, sorry. So what happened here was the Protoss harassed like most Protosses do, and they sent a probe over and they attacked the SCV building, the command center. Or not the command center, the barracks. Normal stuff. What you want to do is you want to pull an SCV to make sure that it doesn't kill that worker building it, which, of course, Keithic did a great job doing. The problem is that the one that was building, he pulled to fight, and the one that was fighting, he pulled to have it fight it. He swapped them. He shouldn't have swapped them. Had he not swapped them, he would have said, he would have been able to complete the barracks and possibly not lose the SCV, versus guaranteed losing the SCV, which he could have just ran away. So the swap wasn't bad. It's that he decided to fight with it. He needed to take that swap and get the hell out of there. Interesting that this probe came in. I thought this was going to be a proxy, based off the little sight I saw. Ooh, he gets a kill. All right, so tit for tat. Keith gets a probe and pushes away the other probe. Should go and kill that probe. He's probably going to send it home all the way, probably straight to it. And this, he should probably pull this stalker and help it protect. Kill it, kill it, kill it. Oh, yeah, Keith is going to be ahead on a worker kill. Cool. As Protoss, you generally want to chrono out workers. You should be ahead of the Terran by a significant amount. At this point, they are basically neck and neck, but if the Protoss had been using their chrono, they'd have been able to get out an extra 2 probes and an extra 4 probes and an extra 2 probes. So 6 probes ahead. And you can see income-wise, obviously when you look at income, the Terran's ahead. There's this thing called mules. That's just the nature of the beast. You kind of expect that. Also, you have command centers that have to switch to orbitals to make it so you drop a mule. I know that these were submitted at the same time, so I'm not going to harp on this too much. But this barracks bunker is a little bit too far forward. I don't know why I'm like messing up things. I'm sorry, guys. This should be further back. It should be sort of kind of hanging out here, unless you have extra units behind, which you don't really have them. So I don't love this placement. It's really, really far away from your workers. It does not defend your ramp, so if they run by you, they just go to your ramp and you're kind of in trouble. etc. When you get to higher level, this is the correct placement. The reason that you want it back here is because you can pull your workers and keep them all over here under protection, and you can protect your ramp while you're situating your army and all that kind of stuff. Because people do run bys, and you want to make sure that you're able to protect yourself from them. Protoss, as of right now, there is a consistent issue that people are seeing that they're a little unbalanced, but that's not really a problem so much with the race Terran. It has to do with the like your skill level is not why you're losing these games. It has to do with the fact that you're just playing against a bunch of Protoss, and you haven't figured out a build that works for you. That being said, everybody has different builds. What you're doing is doing a Widowmine drop, which, if you can catch your opponent, is so absolutely brutal. Because if they don't pull, they just lose, right? You lose those 16, you lose those 19, it's over. Leave one, keep them not mining, get it so that they are just in trouble. Good job forcing back the army. You don't know he has a third yet because you flew by. That's fine. I don't expect you to scout this. If you had a Reaper still, I would probably advise doing that. Your tank is in Narnia. It should be back here. You should have your production wall and then your tank behind it. The reason being is you could put your tank right here. It's quick to repair, and it reaches all the way over here, and you'll have the vision because you have the buildings, which means that a stalker push, they don't want to do it, or if they do it, your units that are sitting on the ramp can respond, and you can kill literally all the stalkers or kill almost all of them, which that's a lot of stalkers with blink, and he's got an observer. You're able to shut this down really, really, really fast. This tank is forfeit at this point, and he goes in. Remember, okay, I was just saying this a moment ago, right? If your production is in a line here, your tank is right here, these stalkers are going to get shelled immediately. This observer isn't even in a good enough position to show where your tank is, which could be shooting them. And instead, your tank is way, way, way over here. This, if you're at a GM level, is game over. I'm not a GM. I'm just saying this is pretty much game over. You have to have your units in position. The units you do have that are kind of close are nothing. You have a Raven that's flying away and 2 Marines. You need basically 4 to 5 Marines per stalker to make it so you lose nothing or very few. With this many, you probably need about 15-ish to be really, really safe, or a tank and about 7 Marines, which math, that's pretty much where you're at. These units here should be here. These units should be here. This tank should be here. Your production should be here, other than whatever your wall off is, because you want to protect yourself from what's happening now. Yeah, you could theoretically have your stim and combat shield sniped, but he's going to lose at least 2 stalkers for it, and that's kind of it's not a great trade, but it's better than you losing, obviously, a worker in this entire line here. Yeah, I know that the StarCraft 2 music stops when I pause the game. I think this is very important for defending against the stalker jump ups with an observer or a warp prism. Often it's a warp prism, not an observer. I think because he saw the Widow Mines, he went obs, or he just played obs to begin with and didn't go warp prism, which I think is kind of weird. As a Protoss, you should have warp prism. They're just really, really valuable. He has the money. He has the supply. He has the protection capability. This was just a straight up mistake by the Protoss. They're also short a gate, right? There's 4 gate. Okay, and a forge going down. I don't know. I don't hate this. But your opponent has Artosis pylon themselves. They don't have anything protecting their natural. When this is all occurring, drop. 1 Widow Mine there. I probably would, I would probably lose the Widow Mine personally, but you'd want to have another Widow Mine here and run away with your medevac. You need this medevac at home. You do the pressure and then get out, or you do the pressure and you have to be really, really on top of using this whenever you see your opponent doing this kind of thing. This is not easy. I'm not trying to say it's easy. This is very difficult. The reason it's so difficult is because you're playing against an opponent that's putting in a 4-gate pressure badly, and you're completely out of position. Your Widow Mine, you could have put your Widow Mine like here, and your tank back here, and your production in line, and you'd have been way up better off. And don't get me wrong, I make this mistake. I don't put my production in the right place. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, right? I'm not saying you should be perfect. I'm saying this is something you should strive for. Me harping this is actually helping me. We're similar MMR, not terribly far off. You're about 800 below me. I do like the Raven coming back. You needed to not lose it. That was an F2, I think? Yeah, it's an F2. So you're going to lose... if you were playing against a competent opponent, or an opponent that is on top of their stuff, yeah, you can't lose that Raven, man. You can't lose it. Tank... See, leave one Marine in there. Nice. I like getting the ops. That's a good call. Good scan. But you lost your medevac, which could have been damage. So, let's click on you. What do we have as our grouping of units? We have 8 SCVs. What? Or it could be an SCV in your army, right? But, like, you had a medevac group. Let's go back just a little bit so that we can, like, make sure that we're communicating effectively. I don't want to call you out on something that doesn't need to be called out. So you have a medevac with your 2 middle mines on number 1. And you have nothing else. You have an SCV on 2. I think this is the SCV on 2. I can't. If I click 2, it shows the other person's vision, so I can't. It doesn't work. Point is that I don't know which SCV this is. You have 3 production buildings under controls on number 3, and you have another control building, another command center on another control group. So this is another thing that you kind of learn. I found learning this around Platinum. I'm not saying that it's a Platinum skill. I'm saying that most people learn it. They like start to understand hotkeys. Not understand them completely, but start to understand them around Plat. You're in Diamond, so you've figured out where you want your hotkeys. You want your army on 1, 2 is your special units, 3 is your other group that you're harassing with or whatever, or your spellcasters, and 1 and 2 are your harass groups. That's really powerful and really smart and really good. Also, your supply blocked. I did not catch that the first time around because it was so short. I could see that you're almost done with it, but you need to be a little bit crisper on that if you want to get to GM. I make this mistake all the time. Again, I'm only Diamond 2, so I'm not like crazy good or bad, whatever. Point being is your hotkeys, right? You have floating army. There's army, there's army, there's army, there's army. It's all over the place. There's army. This should be automatically as they spawn. Wherever you rally it, you should be checking it for the army units. So if you rally here, right, then they should all go here. You should be managing your production facilities a little bit cleaner. I can see you have 5 production facilities. You have 3 barracks, a factory, and a starport. You only have 3 of them on your hotkey. Hello again. You need to have those. You need to make the adjustment to have those all on that hotkey immediately while they're under production. You're Terran. You have the ability to do that. Protoss does too. As Zerg, you don't. It's very different, right? So the hotkey structure is different. I'm not going to get into theirs because, well, we're not even in a match with Zerg. This command center, as soon as it goes down, it should be attached to your group of stuff unless you're in the middle of doing something. As soon as you are done doing that something, part of your macros cycle should be ensuring that whatever buildings you built, like this engineering bay, isn't on a hotkey. I guarantee it's not on a hotkey. How do you know when it's done? How do you check it? How do you, when you do your rotation, when you go, sorry, it's mirrored. When you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, whatever your rotation is, right? how do you make it so that you could see that there's something under production on your rotation? That's what the GMs are doing when their APM is so high. They're flicking through on a consistent cadence that's comfortable for them to make sure that their production buildings are busy, their research buildings are busy, their command center equivalency is busy, etc. They want to make sure that all their stuff is busy. That is part of their macro cycle. The other part of their macro cycle is checking the minimap. They probably spend more time looking at the minimap than the actual screen. Checking their supply cap and all that kind of stuff. And if they get supply capped, they don't just have 2 under production unless they know that they're doing 2 and it's like part of their cycle and they know they're off by a second or whatever. Then fine, whatever. But in general, they're going to go, oh shit, I have 400 minerals and I'm supply capped. What the fuck am I doing? And they would be produced, and I know you're about to build some more barracks and all that kind of stuff, but they would say, shit, I need to produce a lot of other stuff. And you're going to see, if you watch pro play or even GM play, generally speaking, that's the kind of response. And they'll add 2 extra supply depots inside of their cycle to ensure that they're not continuously getting supply blocked. Or they know that they're going to be aggressive or they're about to be attacked and they know they're going to lose units. But they're going to assume that they're not going to be losing units. So that's part of like the cycle of making sure that they don't make it so that they're floating resources unnecessarily. When you watch really crisp, really clean, really good pro play, the very best of the very best, you will never see them get supply blocked. You will see them only be ahead by the equivalency of 1 supply building all the time. But they'll never be supply blocked. And if they are supply blocked, it's for less than a second. So, like, things to keep in mind. Your building placement is super important. The way that you've placed your buildings in this game means you've set yourself up for a loss or heavy damage from a blink-in from stalkers. Your units and buildings on your hotkeys are kind of missing. This is something that you need to solve. This is something that is going to be a long-term... not a long-term problem, but just something that you need to solve that'll be a large improvement in your skill really fast. This is just a minor quip, it sounds like, but it's actually massive. It's actually a large quip because I've been talking about it for like 5 minutes. Point being is basically make sure that you're hotkeying things appropriately. Like, for example, your supply depots on your ramp do not have a hotkey. Why is that? You should, because if they try to adept shade up or you have DTs, you want to be able to instantly hit that button and raise those walls so that way you are not in trouble. It is so important until like the 7 or 8 minute mark that you actually have those hotkeyed because they are your protection from DTs walking into your main. They are adept blockers. They are charge lock blockers. They are so important to protect you and you don't have them hotkeyed. Like, why would you even build a wall if you're not going to leverage it? All right, back to the game. I just wanted to make sure that I was very, very clear on like things that are very easy to do, very quick improvements. I do like this spotting vision stuff here, and I do like this being really annoying for the stalkers to get in and out. But the F2 is really killing me. It's really killing me. And then you have this weird setup, and you're exposing yourself and all this stuff. And you do F2 again, and your Raven is then exposed, and he comes in and kills it. You didn't get any use out of it. That was 200 gas, and he just gets to walk out and be cool. Notice how this tank was here? It has the vision. If it was here, it would have been, or it has the range. So you could even have put your tank like here, and you'd have been okay. Maybe a little bit farther forward, like up here. And you would have been able to protect this a lot better. You lost 2 supply depots. I don't see in your production that you're replacing them, which means you had excess in your structure, and you probably need to fix that. Bunker is completely empty. He had an observer. You should probably leave 1 Marine in there. I'm not saying it's like a requirement, but it would be nice to do that. Again, weird positioning on your structures, all that kind of stuff. I don't hate what you're doing. I'm just, hey, be aware, like all that kind of stuff. You did lose your medevac. You have no medevacs. Instead of using one of your reactors that you already built, you decided to build another one. Your aggression as Terran is based off of having medevacs. If you're going bio, since you are going bio, you need to have. Also, I would have probably salvaged this by now. You have a big enough army. You're not going to be crushed. Or I'd leave it with 1 Marine in it, like I said before, and I'd put up some supply depot wall here, and then I would transition the hotkeys over to this one. Mule? No. Don't grab the Mule. Mule is so much money, and it's not. At this point, Metavex would be worth $1 bazillion trillion. Not killing the Observer. You could see it. I know you could see it. Right? You could see it. You went out. No stem again. You used 2 scans to get 1 obs. I know that it was kind of far out, all that kind of stuff. Where is your Viking production? You know your opponent is has Robo. It's about 8 minutes and change. Time to get into Vikings. You should have 4 to 5 medevacs, Vikings and or libs at this point. That's where you're at. That's where you're producing. That's where you want to be at. Notice your opponent's already getting their 4th base, and their 3rd base is oversaturated. You've done your aggression completely failed. You killed 0 probes, and you have no idea they're on 3 base. Okay, they made a mistake. They're oversaturated. Fine, this should be busy doing stuff. They don't have any. They don't have any shield batteries or cannons. They're on +2 weapons. You actually want armor 1 as Protoss first. But yeah, okay, where your shield bats, they should be going down. They do have enough gates. They're supply capped. They still have an Artosis pylon. I love calling it that because it's just really funny to me. They're supply blocked. They're making a mistake. I know that they're building 3 pylons at the same time, but like this should have 2 pylons. There should be a bunch of shield batteries and stuff. Like they're very open to a lot of things. You're in a lot of trouble. You don't realize it yet, but they have a lot more income than you do. I don't know if I would just run away like that. I mean, I know that you're doing the Widow Mine thing. This is a do or die situation. And he's got Colossi already. Like, you need to be able to kill these. You've killed all of his stalkers. He doesn't have a Warp Prism again. If you had a Warp Prism and he just warped in, I don't know, 20 things. These Zealots, this game would have been... he would have been continuing to pressure you. Also, this game's over. You lost your 3rd. He's on a 4th. You just don't know it yet. You lost, I don't know how many SCVs it was. It was a lot. Units? No. What is it? Yeah, well, you actually figured it out. Okay. Good call. So you can claw back this Terran. Terran is one of the races that are best for coming back. Just to be very clear. You can... if you had more medevacs, right? If you had... You have 2 starports stacked. Weird. If you had... Maybe that's just a visual glitch? No, you have 2 medevac starports. But if you had 2 more 2 more medevacs, you could have theoretically, because you would have been out of juice, right? You could have taken a squad and tried to land in here and do some damage. Like, you could come back. It requires a lot of multitasking and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to come back. I'm not discounting that in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, it's already a 25-minute video on a 10-minute game. So we'll go back to chatting. The good. You had your stuff in position properly. You had a game plan. You made sure you continued to produce units and income and all that kind of SCVs. The bad, your building placement's questionable. Your defensive units placements were questionable. You took more damage than you needed to. You ended up not taking super a lot, but okay, it happens. You lost your Raven for nothing. Your medevac, you F2'd home when it should have already been on its way home. It's okay to lose the 2 Widow Mines. Nobody cares about that 75-25 of each. 150-50, right? If you had kept the medevac at home, you'd have been able to stem earlier. You'd have been able to do blah, 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 blah. Like, you'd have been able to be much... Your defenses would have been stronger. You'd have been able to get your 3rd earlier. You would have been able to do more damage. You would have had more military force, and you would have been able to scare your opponent a little bit more. You didn't really get across the map other than that early medevac. That was another issue, right? Not knowing he had a third base and him just continue to produce and all that kind of stuff. And he did poorly in a lot of ways. Your decision around the probe and the SCV pull was questionable. We talked about it. I'm not trying to harp you on it, right? I'm just saying these are the things that you could improve on. Very simple, very easy, very quick. Your scouting was great. Forgot to mention that. That was phenomenal scouting. I really liked your scouting early on. You knew exactly what your opponent was doing. Up until you actually didn't know what tech path they went. You didn't know if they went Starport. You didn't know if they went Templar Archives. You didn't know if they went Robo. You had no idea. Your Reaper, you want to keep alive and sacrifice eventually to do that. Is the advised thought process. But, you know, we all know that people are like, let's go kill probes. It's so important. I do that. Right, I like killing probes because I don't want my Protoss opponent to get out of hand. I also build, my builds are generally very aggressive, and therefore killing 1 or 2, maybe 3 probes and not caring what tech path they went is why I do what I do. You were not aggressive. You were building a macro game. You're getting ready to be macro oriented. So make it so that you do the things that make it so that you can make the right decisions in the macro world. Specifically knowing that you needed to get Robo was the first building he went after. Our Robo and Templar were the 2 that he went, and all that kind of stuff. And you'd have gotten one of them. Seeing that he was not producing another Robo would have been like, oh, he's doing Templar Archives kind of information. That being said, good game. I'm sorry you lost again. 29% is a really rough percentage. It means every three to 4 times you run into Protoss, which the ladder is saturated with them because they're slightly higher in buff, you're losing. So you're probably doing about 50-50 on your games with a 65-70% win ratio in your other matchups. And that's... It just means you need to clean up what you're doing. Alternatively, you can use a very cheesy strategy. Basically go proxy marauder off the start, literally 2 gate or 2 barracks, 2 marauder production, and use concussive shell, and then completely shut them down and win the game almost immediately. / get a expansion behind killing their expansion. It's like a mirror matchup for Protoss or for Zerg, where it's like, I'm going to go 12 pool. I'm going to kill your expansion. If I kill it, I win. If you don't, well, I'm in trouble, right? It's that kind of situation, and it'll increase your win ratio, but it doesn't necessarily improve your skill set with regards to playing against your opponent later on. But I'm not advising you to go Marauder Rush. I'm simply saying that it is an alternative to mix it in so that your win-loss ratio against Protoss isn't so rough. I feel your pain. I know what it's like to have somebody or a group or a race that you just play over and over and over and over and over and over again and lose every time, or most of the games. So, good game. I hope you watched the whole thing. If you didn't, well, it's here to finish. And hopefully you learn something and improve a lot. And then I get to cast another one and you're like, my win ratio is 70% Protoss. Ha ha ha. Ghosts are also good. But you're not quite getting to that point at 10 minutes. 10 minutes is give or take when you start to get into going into Ghosts. So just something to think about. That all being said, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day. And good luck with your games. Bye-bye.